Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night. Good men, the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay, rage, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight and learned too late they grieved it on its way, do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men, near death, who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay, rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.
If you actually put this poem out in the real world and ask how people actually feel when their fathers are dying, I mean, I know that I've spoken to people that they've sometimes been quite annoyed by the poem because if their father has been ill, they do want him to actually go gentle. They don't want him to fight over weeks and weeks and weeks.
And you, my father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night.
He's asking his father to resist death and not die. And that very simple thing that we all feel sometimes, please don't die, makes the poem suddenly more moving, takes it out of the rhetorical from the pulpit mode into this sudden personal mode.
Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.
Sometimes teachers say, what did the poet mean by this phrase in line 14, and what did the poet mean by this phrase here? As if it was like a mathematical problem. There was an answer, and if you didn't know the answer, you didn't understand it.
Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight.
Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight. How can you sing the sun? To sing the sun? But it doesn't matter. It sort of works for you.
Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight and learned too late they grieved it on its way.
You don't have to look at it word by word and line by line and see what does the poet mean. It would just carry you through on a rush sweep of words. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.
This poem is the best example of a villanelle in the English language. A villanelle is a French courtly form from the 16th century. It's got two refrains in it that weave through the poem. They take turns. It's the first and the third lines of the poem, kind of take turns throughout the poem, coming back as the third line of every stanza. And finally, they come together in the last stanza as a couplet, a rhyming couplet.
The thing about a villanelle is that it has just two rhymes. You know, it has A and B, basically, and every line either ends with an A rhyme or with a B rhyme. And that creates a particular kind of musical intensity.
Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.
It's a very hard form within which to work. It's very strict. And I think that really the great success of this poem is that the form seems to be born from the subject. It doesn't seem to be imposed upon the words. It seemed to be completely natural.
There might have been something therapeutic almost about writing about such painful, uncontrollable feelings in a way that forced him to control them and get them into a shape.
When I was first writing poems, there was this notion abroad that technique somehow got in the way of the emotional truth of the poem. To me, you know, the more I keep the technical side of my mind busy on some little problem, you know, rhyme scheme or figuring out little metrical tricks, the more that side of my mind is distracted. That gives more of a chance for my unconscious, for my heart to kick in and give me an emotional truth.
And you, my father, there on the sad height, Curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night.
A conventional poem starts with the personal, opens out into the universal. Thomas starts with the rhetorical and the universal and turns it at the end of the villanelle into the personal. His father there on the sad height, and we think of the height facing death, I suppose, the distance from us.
And you, my father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.